Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Anne-Marie Houlihan with ToxPlanet, and today you'll be hearing a presentation and seeing a live demo of new product functionality from ToxPlanet about how you can search chemical literature with analogs. We'll get started probably in about maybe another 5 or 6 minutes as we see a bunch of people are starting to get registered right now. So sit tight and we'll be with you soon. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us today for our webinar about searching chemical literature with analogs in ToxPlanet and the new functionality that they're going to demo today. Just want to have you sit tight for just another minute or two as we see people are still getting signed in. We'll probably start at 2 minutes after the hour. Thank you. Okay, folks, I think we can get started. Hello and welcome to our today's webinar from ToxPlanet. We're excited to show you some new functionality in the software. Matt Timberlake will be your presenter, and we're going to go ahead and get through some housekeeping first, and then he'll take over. Okay, hopefully if you can't hear us, you're able to read what's on this page that you can dial in, or if there for some reason your laptop isn't giving you the sound the way you'd like, go ahead and use your phone and mute your computer. Today's session will be short, about 30 minutes. Your line will be muted, but we ask that you use the chat function to ask us any questions that you might have. And we'll address those questions at the end during Q&A. And we will be sending out a recording to everybody who has registered. I will also make that available on the ToxPlanet website. So those are all the details, and we really do encourage questions, so don't be shy. Matt, you want to take it from here?
Great. Thank you very much, Anne-Marie. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Here's our quick agenda for today. We have a combination of ToxPlanet users and non-users on the call, so I thought it'd be important to give a little background on who we are and what we do. Then we'll talk a little bit about the need for analog data, the ways that you can find analog data, the obstacles that you encounter when trying to find that data, and then the solution that we've created. It's taken us about 4 months to create this solution, and a big part of it was feedback we received from people about 2 months ago when we presented our prototype on the product. And then we'll discuss key takeaways, and we'll open up the floor for questions and answers. So who is ToxPlanet? We're located in the greater Charlotte area. There are 7 employees, but we're all over the world. We were originally founded back in 2003 as Expert Publishing. We lived for a few years as part of EBSCO, and then we spun off in 2015, so we're independent again. The audience we serve are toxicologists, pharmacologists, industrial hygienists, product stewards, and risk assessors. Perhaps a better name for our audience is chemical safety professionals. And what we do is provide chemical hazard and toxicology literature. We built what we believe to be the largest collection of aggregated content in this area, and we make it available to our users. We save researchers time by putting all of that data in one place at their fingertips. And our proprietary expert index allows users to quickly find the information they're looking for. We like to describe our expert index as delivering 100% relevant search results. We deliver the content that you expect to find, but we also provide users with discovery. It's quite often that our clients and users will tell us that we showed them content that they did not know existed. And it's one thing to go looking for an HSTB document or an RTEX document that you know exists, but they're delighted when they discover that there are other documents out there that they had no idea existed. This is a little bit about me. There's my bio, but generally speaking, I entered into the information industry back in 1983, totally by chance. I had no idea the industry existed. 7 years later, I migrated to chemical hazard and toxicology information when I joined Micromedics. And then in 2003, I decided to start my own company, and that's what I've been doing since. You can see I'm a business guy. I am not a scientist, but over the years, we've gotten a lot of help from our customers. And I like to quote Tom Peters, the old management guru, who once said that he's never had a good idea in his life, but he remembers the ones he hears. And I think that pretty much describes how we've built ToxPlanet. I may mention, or I will mention PubChem and EPA and Green Screen and a number of other organizations. I want to be clear that we have no formal relationship with any of those organizations, nor do we claim any ownership whatsoever for any of their products. So the need for analog data. All these things are really overlapping, but perhaps what's going on right now, it's a very hot topic, is becoming more and more acceptable is the notion of read across. Regulatory organizations and regulations are now more accepting of read across submissions, and so it's becoming more and more important. as are alternative assessments, things like occupational exposure banding and green screen and design for the environment, all require quite a bit of content. And in the absence of content, analog data is always useful. Of course, everyone's wanting to avoid unnecessary testing for ethical and financial reasons. And then, of course, economics and supply. We see what's going on in Houston right now. I suspect that a lot of those chemical plants down along the coast are going to be out of commission for a while, so there's no telling what's going to happen to supplies and the price of those supplies. So finding analogs, there's quite a few ways out there to find analogs, but they all operate slightly differently. You have PubChem, of course, and then ChemSpider, the EPA's computational toxicology dashboard. There's a handful of more chemistry-oriented databases out there, like the ones from Elsevier. There's also quite a few drug discovery databases out there, but they all operate slightly differently. They require structure searching, or they require IUPAC name or something like that. Some of them require quite a big investment up front to actually use them, so they're not really accessible. And then the second part of that is, when you do find the analog, none of these collections or methods really have the underlying toxicology data that you're looking for, so you have to go back and start your tox data search again. So these are the obstacles, as I said, the searching methods, the expense, learning curve, and the time it takes to gather and then subsequently search for the tox data. So I'm going to show you what we've done and give you a little background. Over the last 2 or 3 years, people have been asking us to provide analog searching, and we started working in earnest on this about 4 months ago. And our plan was to work with the PubChem data and use the similarity searching that they have in their system to be able to display the results. So we went down that path for a little bit, and we showed our prototype about 2 months ago. Perhaps some of you were on that call. And what we discovered was there was some additional functionality that people wanted to see. They wanted to be able to search. They want to be able to sort their results, which is not really available with PubChem data. They wanted to be able to change the percentage similarity, which was not available in a couple other things. We also discovered that PubChem was not designed to use the way we wanted it to be used. We were encountering timeouts and other types of obstacles. And perhaps the third and most troubling thing that we encountered is something that's commonly known, but PubChem has problems with their CAS numbers for a lot of reasons, and I think most of it has to do between the relationship between PubMed or NIH and the American Chemical Society or Chemical Abstract Service. But what's happened with PubMed is that since it's open source and contributed data, there's a lot of invalid CAS numbers in their system. So what can happen is a CAS number can point to more than one record, or more than one CAS number points to the same record, which may be okay if you're looking something up, but when you're trying to do similarity searching, that started breaking some of the things that we're trying to do. We subsequently discovered a file from the EPA that provides us the accurate CAS number linking to the PubChem databases. And so what I'll be showing, I'll just explain real quickly how the system works. A customer will enter, or a user will enter the CAS number. We'll ping the PubChem website and say, show us all the chemicals that are similar to this chemical. And we made that connection with that EPA CAS number file. We bring down the fingerprints of those chemicals. We calculate the percentages so that we have an accurate percentage representation on each one of those chemicals. And then we filter it to see only those chemicals for which we have one or more record. So you end up, the end result is you end up seeing chemicals that somehow, somewhere exist in the ToxPlanet system. So let me show you how that works. So here we are in the screen most of you should recognize, and let's do a search on benzene. And I want to do a starts with search on benzene. Again, you can search with the alpha name or the CAS number or any identifier you happen to have. We click submit. It comes back and shows us our chemical identity page on benzene. Of course, you can go to ChemExpert and you'll see that there are 291 documents on benzene in ChemExpert. And our new link right here is called Similar Compounds. And what you do is you click on Similar Compounds. And right now it's doing that process I just described. As you can see, it's working. It's hitting PubMed and then processing that data. I'm sorry, PubMed, PubChem, processing the data. And now here are the results. The default setting is 90%. And I will say this, we realize that this is technically not a percentage similarity, it's a coefficient. So it should run from 0.8 to 1.0, but the terminology used by both EPA and PubChem is percentage, so we decided to go ahead with that. Default setting is 90%, sorted by chemical name in an ascending order. So we have 91 chemicals in our system that have 90% match or greater. Of course, I can sort by similarity. By clicking on the similarity button, as you can see, it's changed the sort. And then if I want to sort on descending, I would click on descending. And now I have the closest match at the top, and these are all the chemicals in the system. Of course, we have page size. You can set your own page size. At this point, you can scroll through here and pick the chemical that you're looking for. By clicking on PubChem record right here, it'll actually launch the PubChem record for that particular chemical. And there you go. So it's taking you to that chemical in PubChem. Or if you click on the chemical name right here, it'll do a search within ToxPlanet on that particular chemical. We don't happen to have any chemical identification information, but as you can see in these tabs up here, we do have records on that chemical. And so you would click on ChemExpert. And here we go. We have 4 documents on this chemical in our system in ChemExpert. And then it turns into a normal ToxPlanet experience. Of course, we can continue down the similar compounds path. I can click on similar compounds, and it'll launch the search again. Bring me back to 91 similar compounds. I can move my bar. With it grayed out, it's actually working right now. Now there are now 436 chemicals in our results. So as you can see, this is pretty much the entire functionality of the system. I want to show you one other thing. Let's go back to our benzene search. Go back to similar compounds. And again, we're seeing 91 different chemicals here. If you click on the About results, that's a little background information. But as I mentioned earlier, we're only displaying the chemicals for which we have 1 or more record. And so as you can see right here in this document, if we did the same search in PubChem, we'd get 989 records. Whereas in ToxPlanet, you get 91 records. And of course, not to reiterate, that's because those are the chemicals for which we have 1 or more record available. Since you're here looking for toxicology information, we thought that'd be the best implementation. So key takeaways on this, as you can see, it's easy to use. There's really no new learning curve if you're an a ToxPlanet user. It includes more than 700,000 CAS numbers in the search. The similarity is based on the Tanimoto score. Again, it's a coefficient, and our range is from 0.8 to 1. And it'll be available next week. So for those of you that are customers, we will turn on a 30-day trial starting on, the plan is Monday, it may be Tuesday, but early next week it'll be turned on for you, and you'll have complete access to it for 30 days. So Anne-Marie, we want to open up the floor for questions.
Yeah. Once again, you're very thorough. I don't see any questions just yet. Let me just double check that somebody didn't use the question box instead of chat. Oh wait, we do. Is there a way to do more advanced searching, doing a similarity search and then filter for reach tested compounds?
I don't quite understand the question, but I think if the question is, can I still look in reach using the similarity compound, the answer, similar compound functionality, the answer is yes. Once you click on this chemical right here, for example, and you do a new search, it comes back. If it happens to be in the reach registrations, it'll be turned on right here under the reach registrations tab. Does that answer the question?
They haven't. That question was from Joe. So Joe, if we answered your question, let us know. In the meantime, we've got a couple others. Mary wants to thank you first for the information. She says that a quick note to share that the tip regarding just because there isn't a chemical identity page doesn't mean there weren't records for the substance is helpful. Another question.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. Let me jump in right there. That's a good. I'm glad you brought that up, Mary. That we have records of some kind, again, on about 700,000 chemicals. Our chemical identity information comes from ChemID, which is roughly 400,000 chemicals. So there is a gap. The important thing then is, the way to see this is if the tabs are turned on. If something is turned on up here, be it List Expert, MSDS Online, TSCAS, if you don't see anything here, doesn't mean that there's not. If this is turned on, that means there's something available under there.
Good. Okay, we've got a couple more. One question was, how much will the new feature cost?
It's like our other pricing, and it depends on the number of users. And you can reach out, or we can reach out to you and talk to Judy Martin about the pricing for your particular situation. Okay.
Greg says it looks really nice. And how does this analog search capability compare to that offered by SciFinder software?
Greg, I'm not real familiar with how SciFinder works. All I can say is that we're using the same technology that PubChem uses. So when we download the fingerprints and we're processing them, we're simply processing them ourselves so that we can sort them, but we're using the same methodology. And I can get a more in-depth answer for you from my IT guy if you want that answer.
Okay, Greg says that that's great. Going back to Joel, his question, that was about searching on reach. He said, what I mean by the question is, say I had 90 compounds in the initial search, but I could view the compounds that had only specific data. For example, it shows 10 of the 90 compounds that have reach testing. Does that help? Do we read it again?
Yeah, how about read it again?
Okay. What I mean by the question is, say I had 90 compounds in the initial search. Could I view the compounds that had only specific data? For example, it shows 10 of the 90 compounds that have reach testing.
Okay, I understand that question now. The answer is no, but that's a great suggestion as far as filtering it based on some subsequent property.
Yeah,
whether it's on Tosca inventory, or whether it's on reach, or whether it's an HSDB, or whether it's a carcinogen, or some additional meta property on that chemical. The answer is no, we can't do that, but it's something we can certainly look at doing.
Yeah, we love when people suggest things like that to us. One more question. I understand that there are multiple forms of the Tanimoto algorithm. You're using the same approach as the EPA/REACH.
I don't know. I can certainly find out for you. What we're using is the same approach that PubChem uses, and I can send you a link to the documentation that they provide on how they use it.
Okay.
And keep in mind, I'm not trying to avoid the question. I'm just not a scientist, so I don't know, and certainly not a statistician, so I don't know enough about it to answer coherently.
Okay. Let's see. That's all the questions that we have. It seems like people. I'm excited when I see engagement and the number of thank yous and things along those lines. So, so I'd say this was a success.
Well, great. Well, I want to, for those of the people on the call that are not current ToxPlanet users, we'd certainly like to offer you the opportunity to take a look at ToxPlanet, and we give you a free 15-day trial. And with that 15-day trial, you're just like a whole ToxPlanet user, and you'll have access to every database, every document, every update, every bit of functionality. And so if you're interested, please reach out to us on our website or at sales@toxplanet.com.
Okay. Well, I guess we can say farewell until our next webinar. So keep watching the ToxPlanet emails and the website to learn about our upcoming events.
Great. Thank you, everybody.